And what a great tune, and what a great band. Seether, that one, obviously the Nirvana cover, Something in the Way, from the brand new deluxe edition of the unbelievably 20 years ago release, Disclaimer. And here to talk about this reissue is the bass player and one of the original guys from the band Seether, Mr. Dale Stewart. Dale, how are you, man?
Good, man. How's it going?
It's good to speak to you, man. As I'm sure you heard us saying right before we got started, man, I cannot even believe that it's been 20 years since we got introduced to Seether, man. It just doesn't seem like it's been that long, no?
I know. I don't know where the time went, man. I feel like just the other day we were on a plane coming to the States, just, wondering how this is all going to pan out. Snap your fingers. It's 20 years later and, somehow we're still doing it and we're still somewhat relevant. That's crazy, man. But, it's been a hell of a 20 years, man. We have a lot to be thankful for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Dale, I want to start here. I want to go actually before this record came out, and it's for anybody that doesn't know, which is basically only people that are not fans of Seether yet. You guys are not American. You came from South Africa, and the thing that I'll give you guys more credit than any amount of records you ever sold or any show you ever played, to bet on yourselves without anything, just wanting to come to the States, take your shot. That is a ballsy move like nobody makes, man. That is so impressive, man. What was it that made you guys make that trip and believe that the success was there if you just made that move?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're cautiously optimistic, but we did have belief in ourselves. We're proud of the music we're making, and we'd kind of almost reached a plateau in South Africa. The music scene there, or at least the rock side of things, is only so big, and I feel like we kind of climbed that hill pretty quickly, and there wasn't really anywhere for us to go or to grow. And we thought, well, if we want to keep doing this, we need to go abroad. Either our first choice was the States. We're like, man, we've got to go to the States. But if we can't get in there, because it's quite a hard place to get into with the visas and all that. So we're like, well, maybe we could go to Australia or the UK or something. And we're just kind of brainstorming, just trying to get out and get into a larger play for a larger audience.
Sure.
But yeah, we got interest from a label out of New York City, Wind Up Records. As people would know, Creed and
Seven Dust at the time.
Finger 11, Drowning Pool. That
right.
There are a lot of great bands. But yeah, they were like, hey, we heard you guys' demo you sent us. We think you guys are great. We'd love to meet you. And we came over, met them, played a showcase, and they pretty much signed us on the spot. And we're like, this is it. This is our foot in the door. And we came right over. It was 2002. We came over and started recording Disclaimer. And yeah, man, it's it helps though too. Being young and hungry. It would be, I feel like the older you get and the more sort of responsibilities you have in life, it gets harder to just throw all your eggs in this one basket and say, hey, as a Hail Mary, we're going to go for it. And give up everything for this dream. But we were kids, man. I was 21, Sean was 22. And we said, hey, what the hell? Let's go for it. We'll go over there and we're just going to give it everything, man. And we did. And it panned out,
Right. No, it definitely did. I lived in Korea with the military for 2.5 years. So I've done the living out of the country, and it's hard to explain this to people. And I'm sure you'll understand this question right away. It's not just going somewhere else. It's learning everything, how to get around, how the traffic works, how how to order food, what words don't mean the same things in your language to their language. I mean, there's so much transition that goes on when you make a jump like that. How much now you guys were obviously young, so you could adapt quickly, but how
Right.
difficult was that piece? Obviously you knew how to make music, but everything else that you had to do at that point, you had no idea how to do, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the main thing that changes when you immigrate like that is, well, the biggest thing is the culmination of all the small things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's go to the store and buy some beer, and it's the first thing we did. We got there and we're like, man, we're out of our depth. Like, we don't know where we are. People talk funny. They're right on the wrong side of the road. We said, hey, let's just go to the store. We'll buy some beers. We'll catch a buzz. We'll celebrate. What beer do we drink? I don't know. Like, I've heard of Budweiser. I saw it in a movie. Well, yeah, I guess we'll try that. What cigarettes do we smoke? I don't know. Like, what the plugs in the walls are funny. Like everything.
Right.
Everything's a little different, and it was quite daunting and quite scary, but at the same time, unbelievably exciting. It was this adventure, and as much as it was a culture shock and was different, at the same time, it was almost strangely familiar because, American culture sort of permeates the rest of the world,
right?
Through movies and music and television and things like that. So growing up watching, like, Knight Rider and MacGyver and whatever, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and whatever other shows,
right?
we watched as teenagers and things, and so you watch these movies and you're like, oh, I know that's that's the there's the World Trade Center buildings, or those
Sure.
are still there. That's how long ago it was when we first came over to the States. But oh, I know that's that's Tower Records, or
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's Burger King. That's
Dude,
a good place to eat because so and so in this movie ate there. So in a weird way, we kind of knew it was somewhat familiar.
Sure. I know. I again, I'm using my own story, but I learned how to speak not fluent Korean, but good enough Korean from watching TV. I was watching Moonlighting. I still remember the show. It was Moonlighting with Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis
and the girl, whatever her name was. I can't think of her name.
The blonde girl.
I can't think of her name, but I just remember I watched it as a kid with my mom and dad, so I knew what they were saying. Okay. So when I heard it translated into Korean, I sat there watching it and was like, okay, well, that's how he said that he wants food at this restaurant. So put that in the bank. It's just crazy, man.
It's the easiest way to learn because you don't realize you're learning. You're just kind of soaking it in. My wife loves those Korean soap operas, and they're not really soap operas. On Netflix, they got like a bunch of
like Squid Game and stuff.
Yeah, Squid Game, things like that, and a bunch of other ones. And every night we go to bed, and she's got those on, and I'm like, you don't even know what they're saying. And but she's like, no, it's great. I love it.
It was a Sybil Shepherd, by the way. Sybil Shepherd.
There we go.
Now I got a question for you. Chris and I argue about this all the time, recently, especially. The era that this album came out was fantastic for rock music.
Yeah.
And it seems to me, anyways, and I don't know whether it's rock radio or the bands themselves, but it seems like things have changed as far as rock music today goes. And I'm tired of hearing about the Taylor Swifts and the crap that's out there now with this garbage pop stuff. What happened with rock music? Is it the radio? Is it the kids? Is it the music itself?
It's hard to say. It was definitely a great time when we came to the States. There's so many good bands, and one of the first tours we did was Ozfest.
Yeah,
I mean, the lineup was just insane. Just great music all day. I don't know if
you don't see that now, though.
You do.
You don't see the Ozfest and the stuff like you used to see. I just don't see it like I used to, especially around here. Maybe it's again. I don't know if it's the radio not giving it to play or what.
Did you guys lose me?
There he is. There he is.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm just a jaded old bastard, but I know I definitely feel like music is a little bit. It just feels a little uninspired.
Yeah.
I almost feel like everything feels like it's been done. Everyone's just kind of going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
seems like, and I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if it's because rock is maybe has taken a bit of a back seat. You know, when I was growing up, rock music and metal, that was like dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
and it was edgy and cool, and I feel like almost like hip hop has taken that place now.
Sure.
Hip hop music is now edgy and dangerous, and they're singing about, you know, being
Partying.
criminal, or you
Right.
know,
Sure.
loose women and everything else, and I almost feel like rock's almost gotten a little bit safe, and I'm not sure exactly why that is. I don't know if that plays a role. I don't know if maybe the internet, plays a role where it's so easy to just stream music and basically download music illegally. So I don't know if maybe the incentives is gone for people to really put their heart and soul out there. I don't know what it is, but I do agree with you. I think, I mean, there's still good stuff that comes out.
Sure.
I just don't think it comes out in the same kind of volume as it used to. And again, I don't know if that's because I'm old and jaded.
I think I'm right there with you.
If it's
I think
just not as much good stuff.
I think I'm right there with you. I think I'm just getting too old for this
Sure.
scene that's out there right now. I miss the good rock stuff. I miss your guys' albums and that kind of stuff. I loved it. So.
Well, I do too. Like I mean, I'm a kid. I mean, I love '80s music, but I'm very much a '90s kid. I was a teenager in the '90s. For the most part, and it was just such a formative time for me, and I just related so much to the music that was coming out, and the music was so good in the '90s. I felt, well, the rock music at least,
Sure,
and it was honest, and it was good, and it was different, and it was just something cool, and even though it was, the whole sort of the '90s was mostly like the grunge thing, but even though there were all these bands that were kind of part of that scene, they were all so different. It's not like, oh, all these bands in this scene, they all kind of sound like that. It really wasn't the case. Like like a Pearl Jam sounded very different to like a Stone Temple Pilots or a, I mean, there was such to a Soundgarden all these bands were lumped into this category, which they were completely different bands, and but there was just such a depth and a wealth of creativity and music that was coming out. I don't know why that was. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know why it seems like that's kind of gone away now.
Yeah.
Let me float this idea by you too, Dale, because this is one of the main reasons I think that rock music is kind of gone away. And it's because and I don't want you to say anything bad, because I know you guys play these kind of shows, but I really think that the growth of the big packages, the 2-3 day 50 band packages has hurt everybody but the headliners, because for like a band like Seether, as an example, if you go and play Sonic Temple, just throwing one out there, if you go and play that, well, now you're playing to everybody else's fans with just a smaller amount of your own fans, instead of a show, even if it was a show with 2,000 3,000 people, whatever it is, of just Seether fans. So you lose a little bit of the connection on that level. And then the other problem is then there's always that radius clause that you all have in your contracts, where if you play Columbus, you can't play Cleveland or Cincinnati or Detroit, or so you lose you lose large pockets of your own audience. And I get it, it's how you have to do it to survive, but I really think it's taken a lot of the loyalty away from the connection, I mean, from between the band and the fan base that it builds. Do you agree?
To a point. I agree. It's one of those things where, if you're a fan, and especially, after the whole COVID thing, and, it's just that, things are a little harder, the inflation, everything, it's, the dollar doesn't go as far. So if you're like, oh, I've got this, couple $100, as my sort of entertainment concert budget, what am I going to do? Can I go see this one band who's playing, at this venue, or do I buy this ticket? I can go to this festival for like 2-3 days, and I can see like 7 or 8 bands that I really want to see and maybe discover some new bands.
Right.
And then as the bands, especially as the younger bands, the big guys are the main draw. They bring the people in. And then as like a baby band, you get to jump on and play in front of people that would never come to see you, or maybe you didn't know about you, and you can win some new fans.
Sure.
And get in front of people who don't know you. So it is kind of a double-edged sword, because it does take away from, because now there's people like, okay, well, that was my budget. I went to the big show. I got to see all these bands.
Yeah.
So now I'm not going to go to the show down the way when Seether's back in town playing. So it does take away, but you are in a position where you can make new fans. So you have to kind of weigh the two against each other. It's a kind of a double-edged sword,
right,
in a sense, I think.
Yeah, the business is just weird right now. It really is just weird.
It's all changed because again, it's you can get online and just you can get all your buddies over to your house and you can pull up a live concert on YouTube.
Yeah.
Of this band that you love, and you can sit there and drink beer for free and not have to queue, to take a leak.
Right.
And hang out. And again, it's not the same. I mean, it's not the same as being there in person. It's loud and the sounds and there's girls and everything else. But yeah, I think that's another part of it. It's so many people, I think, kind of live online now largely, and COVID made that even worse because we're forced to do that. But I think a lot of people think, oh, well, I'll just stay home and mess around online instead of going out in the real world. Not even going to a concert, going on a real date.
That's true. I mean,
I'll just order Grubhub and then.
I don't go to sporting events now because of that. Instead of going to an actual football game or baseball game, I'd rather watch it on TV with my big TV and my cold beer for free.
Just rather watch
for a couple of bucks.
Yeah, and it's easy to do it now. Like you can watch anything streaming live online, any music, any sports event. It's like you don't have to leave you should leave the house because it's healthy.
Yeah,
and it's fun to actually go to the real thing.
Yeah, right. A lot of people. Are you guys touring or anything? What's going on?
Where it's safe and it's cheap.
And, are you guys touring or anything?
Not at the moment. We are busy looking at a possible European tour coming up. We just kind of working out the details of that. That'll be kind of middle of next year. But yeah, right now we just kind of starting to think about making some new material. Starting to think about a new album, which we need to get out at some point. Yeah. So, and then, just focusing on some family time and that, I feel like the older you get, you start realizing, wow, the time at home with the family is important, especially when you've spent most of your life on a bus,
right,
riding around the countryside, getting drunk, like, not remembering, half your life.
Do you look at that?
You wake up one day, you're like, oh, hell. Yeah, I missed a lot. Maybe we should spend a bit of time at home with the family and
right on. Do you look at that Metallica tour and say, man, that's what we need to do? Play on the weekends, and that's it.
Yeah, no, that's, and we've done that too. And also, now we're a bit older, I think. I mean, we very much, we still love playing and touring and all that. It's just we're just doing it a little bit more selectively now. So we have had, in recent years, those kind of tours where, okay, we're gonna play a weekend, and then excuse me, we'll play a weekend, and then go home for 3-4 days,
right?
See the wife and the kids, and then, all right, honey, cool, get back on a plane, play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, come home again, and I mean it's a lot of flying, which is inconvenient and whatnot, but I mean it's so nice just being home for those couple of days and sleeping in your bed and seeing your families and stuff. So I think that's the way to do it. I either do that weekend stuff or even do I do like a week on and then like 2 weeks off.
Right.
So do like a week on, 2 weeks off. The only thing is, touring like that, and that's why, younger bands don't really do that, because it costs a lot of money to tour like that.
Right on.
And so you need to kind of be established, or at least making good money to be able to do that, because every day off is money.
Yeah.
Every time you fly out, it's not just the band, it's a dozen crew guys that you need to fly out. They need hotel rooms, you need buses,
food.
You need to fuel these buses with diesel, which is not cheap anymore. So there's a lot of overhead, and every day you're not playing, there's still that same overhead, but there's nothing coming in. So so the days off in between are nice, especially if it's an extended period, like a week or two. But they do. It does add up cost wise, but
sure.
I don't know if one can really put a price on that. When it comes to your longevity and your sanity, and just time with the family and time at home.
Right, exactly. Well, Dale, let me swing it back around to disclaimer, because we need to promote this record, since that is the whole reason that you called.
Right here.
I'm always fascinated with bands with their first record, when their first record does really well. And if you remember this, and probably you don't, but I'm going to ask anyway, do you remember when you knew that you had something special with Disclaimer? Was it while you were recording it? Was it, okay, we feel good about it, but it wasn't until you saw reaction from fans and shows? Was it Ozfest? I mean, what was it where you really were like, holy shit, this is a lot bigger than we thought we were going to do?
I don't know if there was any one moment. Certainly when we were recording it, I mean, we're like, wow, this is really sounding great. And, we're so proud of the work we're doing. But again, that's not, one's not always a very good objective, voice.
Right.
Because, you're so close to the material, and you're so bonded to it emotionally, and you can't always remove yourself and look at it, subjectively, and so naturally we're like, oh, we love it, we made it, and we're proud of it. But we relied on opinions of like the record label and management, but they were all behind it too. They're like, oh, it's sounding good, so it gave us a bit more confidence that we were on the right track. But yeah, I'd say maybe when we started getting success at radio.
Okay.
And they were picking it up.
And that was quick, right? That was like pretty like even before the record was actually out, when the first single floated, it did really well, right?
Yeah. We normally try, release a single, get a bit of buzz going, and then, release the album as that's kind of getting to a decent, chart spot on the radio, which helps your sales off the bat.
Right.
But I did have one moment that was actually really cool, and that actually did kind of click it. We were playing in Rome, and we were on tour with Evanescence.
Okay.
At the time, and we were in Rome, and our guitar player Pat and myself were walking around, and we walked into this little, I want to say it was like a little ice cream shop or something.
Okay.
And they had like a little fridge with beers outside. I'm like, oh, let's grab some beers. And we went in, and this guy turns around. He's like, "You guys are Americans?" And I'm like, "Well, he is. I'm South African."
Right.
He's like, "Oh, nice to meet you. What are you guys doing in Rome?" And I guess this guy was living in Rome. And we're like, "Oh, yeah, we're in a band. We're touring." And I was like, "No way, that's so cool." He's like, "What kind of music?" And we told him, Seether. And he's like, "What kind of music?" And I was trying to explain. And then I just kind of heard in the back of my head, and I'm like, oh, this is us. And we're playing, our single at the time, Broken, was playing in this little ice cream shop in Rome.
Nice.
While we were talking to this guy, and I'm like, oh, we sound kind of like, oh, this is us. And he's like, oh, I know that song. And he's like, oh, I'm going to come to the show then. And then I'm like, wow, that's actually a trip. they played us in Rome.
Right.
Even though it was an ice cream shop, it was still cool.
It's still cool. Hell yeah.
Who knows where else they would have played us.
Exactly.
But yeah, that was one of those moments that I don't know, just after you said it, just kind of popped in my head now.
Sure.
But there's a series of little things and little things that happen and little, little goals you set for yourself along the way.
Right.
And as you kind of get to tick those boxes, you start realizing, wow, this is pretty cool and unique. And we're in a fortunate spot to, be able to, live this dream and
right.
Do what we love and
right, make a living doing what you like. That's always the best. Now Dale, I know a zillion musicians, and knowing a zillion musicians, I'm going to ask this one as if it's a definite. I'm not going to ask is there. I'm going to say there is, and I'm going to let you tell me which one it is. Which song or songs on Disclaimer are there that if you did it again, you would do them completely differently? Whether it's a different arrangement, a different bass line, you'd change the lyrics, you would do something. Because I know every one of you guys, you're never satisfied with anything that you do.
Wow. It's hard to say. I think maybe Driven Under.
Okay.
I might change the bass line a little bit on that. Yeah, it's hard to think. I normally don't think in those terms because I let everything sort of let sleeping dogs lie, and that's a snapshot of that time.
Have you changed it live though? Have you changed how you play it live?
Yeah.
Okay.
Live we do kind of especially the older songs and songs like that. We've played a million times.
Sure.
Fine Again's another song it's not different live, but I'll just do something a little different. And Johnny on the drums will do like a different accent, and I'll do a different bass thing over that. And it's largely for us just to, make it a little bit fun and different live on stage. Because those older songs, we've played literally thousands of times. So it's fun to just change it up and make it, a little bit different, a little bit fun. Keep it fresh for us on stage.
See, that's what I was going to kind of ask. I'm a radio guy, so I'm like a hits guy. And, I like playing all the hits, and that's what I've done for 20 years. But my wife is more of like a beyond the hits kind of person. Do you guys get annoyed playing all the hits? Do you want to just start playing all the other stuff that the radio isn't playing? Do you get annoyed with that?
I wouldn't say we get annoyed. It's definitely one of those things, though, that your set list gets dictated by your singles.
Yeah.
And, so like when we came out of the gate and we were just playing shows and, garage band and everything, our set was like super heavy. And we're this really like angry, heavy band. And then you got like the one or two like mellow songs, and then you get a record deal and the label's like, oh, these two mellow songs, those are going to be the singles because, radio will play those. They won't play,
right.
The really crazy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these will be saying, okay, so now these are the two songs that people recognize on the radio. You have to play these now. Then you release another album. Oh, well, these are going to be the singles, and it's always the kind of more middle of the road to kind of slow songs. 4 or 5 albums down the road, it's all kind of the kind of metal.
Yeah, you stop being a metal band.
You don't have room for the angry stuff,
right?
So you guys don't get to choose that.
Really chilled, and you're like, well, we have to play with the people, dance with the one who brought you. Like we have to play the songs that people want to hear, and they've come to see us play live.
Right.
But we try working, a little bit of everything if we can, from old singles to new ones, and we do have some sort of up tempo, kind of singles as well, like Fake It and Remedy and stuff like that. But yeah, it's funny how your set list changes, and then also when 20 years down the line now, it's like, okay, well we don't even have time on a normal show to play all our singles. So it's like,
right,
we have to kind of pick which ones we're not going to play.
Yeah, that's a real tough problem there, Dale.
So no,
we have too many hits to play.
Well, that's the thing. It's a good problem to have, and it makes coming up with a set list hard, because it's like, well, shit, what are we not going to play? And we want to play some new stuff because we have this new album out, but a lot of people are going to want to hear the old stuff of Disclaimer, and so yeah, it becomes a bit challenging, but like you say, it's a good problem to have, so it's no worries. But it's nice to have a large pool like that to pick from. If you do want to completely change the set list up, we can do that pretty easily.
Right on, man. Well, dude, real quick, before we wrap this up, I did want you to talk quickly about the actual merchandise that people can buy. It's available in January to actually buy. They can hear it now, which I thought was interesting. That they can hear it on Spotify and probably everywhere else, I'm assuming. But
Right.
You can buy the merchandise in January, and the reason I'm bringing that up specifically is because unlike everybody else that puts out these packages, you guys have some awesome looking merch. The merch looks really, it's like a cool set of stuff. It's not just, well, here's the LP.
Right.
It really is cool. So talk a little bit about the merch.
Yeah, it's the LP comes out January 20th, and people can pre-order right now, or they can stream it as well. And yeah, as far as I understand with the merch, there's like packages of things that people can get. I'm not even sure. I need to
there's like shirts, and there's shirts, and there's CDs, and there's LPs, and there's all the tchotchkes that you would want. I mean, it's
right.
much bigger than most bands that do these deluxe editions. Most of the deluxe editions are, well, here's the LP version of it, and here's one extra track. This you're getting. First of all, the concert. Look, now I'm gonna sell it for you. The concert is great.
we put a live concert on there. We again, it's an old school one from
2003.
2003, I think it was.
Yeah.
Hampton Beach Casino. So just a proper old school rock show, just loud and sweaty, and might be a couple jazz notes here and there, unintentional jazz notes, but it makes it real, man. And then we also put on a copy of a cover that we did, or that Sean did, of Nirvana's "Something in the Way."
Right. Just
full acoustic guitar and a voice, and we've obviously big Nirvana fans, like most kids our age.
Right.
And he just pulled out the guitar one day and played the song, and we recorded it. Just really sounded good, and we decided to tack that on there, and
yeah, well, it's
something to listen to. So
sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is an awesome collection. So it is a Disclaimer, the deluxe edition. Make sure you go out there and pick it up. Just you use their main homepage, which is Google. If you go to Google and type in Seether, you'll find it. No, I know there's a website, whatever, but yeah, I know you band guys never know it, so I'll just say Google.
Yeah, Seether.com. Check it out.
Okay, well, that's easy enough. Seether.com. Go out there, get it, order it today. It'll be in your mailbox on the 20th of January. It'd be the perfect way to start the new year. And I'll tell you what, Dale, I figured we would wrap this up with Fake It, since you mentioned it. And to wrap it up, you obviously had a video with this one. Tell us a little bit about this to wrap it up.
Yeah, Fake It. That video was a lot of fun to shoot. Number one, we had a bunch of really pretty girls dancing around and doing the thing. So that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun for a young band. But no, it was just fun. We got to like do something a little goofy. It's so easy to fall in that we're a rock band and we're pensive and serious and badass and angry and mean, and all that stuff, and Fake It was a chance to kind of do something a little funny, a little tongue-in-cheek, and show that we're not that serious of people, in our personal lives, even though a lot of the music might be serious. It's it's almost like that music is a way to get that out of your system, so you can, so you can kind of goof off and be a little bit more lighthearted.
Right on.
After you've got that all out of your system. But it was just a fun one. It's kind of funny, a little goofy, and it's definitely one of my favorite videos that we did. Something completely different, but I probably like it because it does stand out.
All right.
Amongst the videos, yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's check it out right now. It is Fake It. It is
Cool.
Seether, new release, disclaimer, out on January 20th in physical form, out now on your streaming services. Go stream it and stream it 1,000,000 times until you get to buy it, and then buy it. How's that?
I love it.
All right. Well, Dale, thanks so much for joining
Thanks,
us here
man.
on Chris Aiken Presents, man. We really
No problem,
appreciate your time, man.
Thanks so much for having me. It's nice
All right,
talking to
brother.
you guys.
Take care, man.
You too, brother.
All right. Bye-bye.